Good evening again, everyone. This is Melissa Raspberry from the American Institutes for Research. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to be here with you tonight, serving as sort of your technical support team for this webinar. We have a fabulous set of guests that are here to share information with you about AP CS principles, the course launch, and exam prep details. And I just wanted to give a very brief introduction before I turn things over to Deepa, Len, and Owen. As I mentioned previously, we do encourage you to call in using the conference number that's on the screen there in red, the 866 number. The reason for doing that is that we really want our webinars to be interactive. So when we say, do you have questions, we literally want to hear those from you. So we encourage you to use that call-in number and the conference code to join us. You, of course, are always welcome to post your questions there in the chat window. But as I mentioned, we love to hear voices as well. It helps to break up the monotony of just a few of us talking. If at any point during tonight's webinar, if you have any questions or concerns, you're welcome to put a note in the chat window. Or if you hover over my name, again, I'm Melissa Raspberry, it should give you an option to send me a private message, and I'll be glad to help you with that. But otherwise, if you do choose to call in, please mute your microphone unless you have a question. If you have the floor, just helps to kind of keep the background noise at a minimum. So if you haven't had a chance to do so already, go ahead and give us your name, your location, and your current job or role, just so we can get a sense of who's in the room. But without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Deepa. Thanks, everyone.
The phone rings. Switch it off. Hello, everybody. My name is Deepa Muralidhar. I am very excited and honored to be at what I consider probably a very, very important webinar today. I welcome you all. Excited to be here. And I welcome Owen Astrakhan, and Lien Diaz. I also want to extend a really special thanks to Melissa Raspberry for being here with us tonight and being such a trooper and helping us out, carrying out this very important webinar, which is very important to our community. So Melissa, a very special thank you to you. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the big excitement that's happening in our community, introducing AP CS principles this fall. And a lot of us, in fact, probably every one of us that I see attending here have been involved in one way or the other to make such a big project a success. And the story is not even begun, right? We have all the work that has to be done is really got to be done ahead as we go take this into our classrooms, as we teach our students, get them ready for take the AP exam. We grade those exams, and then we get this into the mainstream course, along with all the other APs from other subjects in there. So we are here to have Lien Diaz from College Board and Owen Astrakhan from Duke talk to us about the course, about AP CS principles, the course, the launch details, and about the exam. A thing about me, my name is Deepa. I'm a high school teacher. I have a computer science background, an engineering degree from India, and I came here ages and ages ago. I'm a member of the AP CS Principles Development Committee, and I teach both. I teach AP Computer Science A, and currently in Georgia, we have CS Principles, and next year I will be teaching AP CS Principles. I am also the president and co-founder of the Georgia CS10K Chapter, and very, very honored to be a member of the the National CS10K Computer Science Teachers Association. Lien Diaz. Lien Diaz, we welcome you from, she's from the College Board. She's a Senior Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Director for the AP program. Lien is also the co-PI for the AP CS Principles Project, a funding that was done with the collaboration of NSF and College Board. Something that I did know, and I was very excited to be able to present that fact to you, is that Lien is also a teacher like many, many of us, a middle school and high school teacher, and I can tell you personally, as I've worked with her the last 6 years, it has been exciting to listen to her perspective on teaching in the classroom. I can assure you she still has very strong memories and very passionate about what teachers do in the classroom, and very supportive and respectful. she's also mentored, been a professional development mentor. And something that I wanted to add as I was thinking and getting ready for this webinar is Lien has been passionate, absolutely, about getting computer science into the K-12 arena. It's not an easy challenge, folks, as you and I know, being the classroom teachers, to get something that is new, like computer science, to be accepted along with other courses, along with the core math and science and language arts and foreign languages. But she has been our fearless leader at the College Board end, championing for a course that's rigorous and well accepted. So Lien, we welcome you. Owen Ashrakan, to our community, Owen is no stranger. We've all grown to absolutely love, admire, and respect Owen. He's a professor of practice for computer science at Duke University, as well as the director for undergraduate studies at the same place. He is one of the co-PIs as well, along with Lien, for College Board and NSF for the AP CS Principles project. He has won the NSF Career Award, the Duke Richard K. Lubin Award, and the NSF CISE Award. Above and beyond that, something that I was excited to know only after I started doing this project is Owen's been involved with the AP program since '89 as a chief leader for AP CSA, which was in Pascal, and has remained involved ever since then. He started as an AP CSA teacher, I believe, and Owen, if I'm wrong, you feel free to say that I was wrong when I give the mic to you. Something that I wanted to mention about Owen that I have really been personally very impressed is that Owen is extremely committed to the best interest of the teachers. As a pilot teacher, what kept me going is how much he really cared about what I did and what was right by me. And even as we moved on to being the development committee, I still remember his words saying, stay true to the ground, stay true to the teachers who are doing the real work, try to reflect their work in the exam, and we will see success. And with Lien's leadership, I'm happy to say we have pretty much gotten a course ready to go up to be launched in 2016 fall. So Lien, the floor is yours at this point.
Thanks, Deepa. Really appreciate all your kind words, and I'm very happy to be part of this webinar tonight. I've been looking forward to getting to this point for a very long time, but there were lots of people involved, and certainly, Deepa, you've been part of that as well, too. So thank you very much for your welcome. Tonight, I'm hoping that I can share with you some updated information about the new AP Computer Science Principles course, and happy that Owen is on the line as well too, to share experiences about the project, and also to talk about the importance of broadening participation and making this course accessible to as many students as we can. And very happy to have been working with him for a long time as well too. So we're at a point where we have launched a course homepage for AP Computer Science Principles. I'd like to talk a little bit about that too, and the information on that page. If you haven't seen it, most of everything that you want to know or access in terms of resources is on this course homepage. And then I also understand that there might be some questions about the assessments for this course. So Deepa, if you want to forward the slide to the next slide. Before we do that, maybe we should ask Owen to say a few words as well too, in terms of participation.
Just as Lien and Deepa have expressed, it's very exciting to be here as we launch Computer Science Principles, a course that's been so long in the making, 8 years. It's also great to see both people that I don't know and people that I do know in the attendees list. It's pretty exciting to see so many. And there are lots of people that have been working on computer science in K-12 for as long or longer than I have, and that's been coming up on 40 years, so that's a long time. So it's very exciting to be here.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. So we have a set of questions that Melissa and I came up with that I'd like to ask you both. Feel free to jump in, either one of you, even though I ask one of you. And members of the audience, I cannot emphasize enough, your participation is extremely valued. We value your contribution. Thank you for coming tonight. And shoot questions as we start talking. So Lynn, the first one's for you. The APCS principles has two parts to it. And that itself, by itself, very unnerving to many of us teachers because apparently it's different. It's not a typical field response style. So can you give us a little more specifics on it, and how do you think, because of the grade distribution, should we impact? How should that influence our teaching?
So thanks. Yeah, I think that's a great question. So we've developed a very robust course to make the course engaging for students in terms of introducing them to computer science, right? We have big ideas that include like creativity, things like working with data, considering global impact of computing, and knowing more or learning more about the internet. All these things, in addition to programming, were meant to approach teaching and learning of computer science in a very different way than what we have been used to for many, many years, with just a sole focus on programming. So this curriculum framework, has what we believe to be engaging topics or important and engaging concepts in computer science. And we all know that in our AP courses, what is associated with our curriculum framework then is an exam. So we thought very long and hard about this assessment. We knew that in terms of a standardized test that we would very likely need, and we do need an AP exam. So we have that as part of the assessment design, an AP exam in which students will sit for 2 hours, to take a paper and pencil multiple choice exam. In addition to that, the experts that we worked with in the development of the course said, if we really want to engage students in learning computer science in a different way, what about considering performance tasks or portfolios, right, is what we used at the very beginning with this idea. And what ended up being part of the assessment design is 2 performance tasks, which we call through course assessments. So students will complete these 2 performance tasks during the school year. Each task focuses on something a little bit different, but by including these performance tasks, we are working under the premise that because it's an engaging curriculum, the assessment should also match, right, the intent of that curriculum. And by completing these performance tasks in the class, students have lots of flexibility to determine their choice of topics to focus on in these performance tasks. There are very, rigorous requirements that they must meet and complete, but they have flexibility to determine what they would like to focus on in these tasks. And there's some aspects of the task as well that make it, engaging. We're not just requiring them to submit written responses, but they'll also have to submit artifacts, computational artifacts, which are also part of the requirements. And Deepa, go back to this the other slide real quick. I just wanted to point out that the weight of each of these sections is a little bit different than what we typically have in our other AP courses. The 2 performance tasks combined are weighted at 40% of an AP score, and then the end of course exam is weighted at 60%. So that's something, I think important for teachers to pay close attention to, that the end of course exam is weighted slightly more than the through course assessments. There were lots of reasons for that, but you know, that's you know, these are the numbers that will be as part of input into a final AP score. So the next slide that Deepa was moving on to is a very brief description of each of the performance tasks. We have 2 of them. If you're not familiar with them, I did include a link to the AP CSP course homepage. There's lots more information about the performance tasks. But one of the performance tasks is called Create, and this task requires students to develop a program. They're going to submit that to us. They're also going to submit a video of, you know, their program working, running, doing what it's intended to do. And then they're going to highlight certain aspects of their program that we're focusing on in terms of abstraction and algorithms. And then they'll also have to submit some written responses to us. For the second task, it's called Explore, where students investigate the impact of computing innovation, and they select. Students are able to select, you know, that computing innovation that they want to investigate. They'll create a computational artifact. It can be a PDF, it can be a video, it can be an audio, and then they'll also submit some written responses to us. And we've been piloting these tasks for quite some time now and have received lots of great feedback from our pilot teachers, and we're at a point now where we'll be selecting I think there's some background noise that might be, okay, thanks. So we're at a point now with our pilots where this April we will be asking our pilot teachers to submit student work, and we will be conducting a pilot reading this June to review that student work. You know, and I think we're going to get lots of information in terms of, you know, what students are developing, how well they are reaching the requirements in the rubrics, and also reviewing and assessing our own scoring process for these tasks. I'm very much looking forward to that too.
Great.
Could I add a couple of things to that discussion about the performance tasks, just so that everybody has an understanding of a few things? If you look back one more from what's shown here, you'll see the percentage that each performance task counts. When you break down a little more the details of the performance task, you'll see, for example, that in the Create performance task, there are several learning objectives that are part of that task. When you look at the course and exam description, that will be very clear because the learning objectives that are being assessed in that performance task are explicit, and they are not all learning objectives from the programming big idea. So although you'll see that it says 24% of the test score is devoted to the Create task, not all of those not all of that 24% will be part of learning objectives that are associated with programming. Some of them will be associated with algorithms, some of them will be associated with abstraction, and so on. You can see that in the details. The other thing I wanted to mention is that in the slide that comes after this, when it discusses the computational artifacts that students will turn in for Explore, the development committee did a great job in making sure that all kinds of artifacts would be allowed. So, for example, it says video, audio, PDF, so that if people have trouble seeing things, they can make an audio or a PDF, or if people have trouble hearing, they can do something else. So some care has been taken all along to ensure that all sorts of learners are supported by being able to complete these performance tasks, which go far beyond simply writing solutions to programs as we see in AP CSA. So in some ways, the performance tasks can connect directly with different kinds of learning.
Great. Thank you, Owen. Lynn, there is one question that I'd like to bring out here. Scott Cuts asks, is there an individual and a collaborative component in the create task? Hello?
Hey, Deepa.
Hi, could you hear me?
Yes. Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. Scott Cuts asks, in the create performance task, is there an individual and a collaborative component?
Yeah, so in the create performance task, we do encourage students to collaborate. They are allowed to collaborate, which is what happens in the real world with software developers. They very often collaborate with a colleague. But that said, each individual student must submit their own program for scoring purposes. And the actual act of collaboration, that's not a component that is very specifically assessed. In terms of assessments, that's not really something that we can assess large scale or, via a high stakes exam. But it is a component of the task, and it is encouraged for, for students to collaborate.
Great. Lynn, I believe this is directed towards you, but I think either one of you could answer this just as well, I believe. Jessica Jarbro asks, will the process of becoming a reader for the next year be the same as reading for other AP subjects?
Oh, very good question. So we realize that the current criteria for AP readers may not all, apply for readers for computer science principles. One, we have a number of teachers that have been teaching this course or piloting this course, and that is one of the current requirements. Teachers must currently be teaching the course and have, a certain number of years teaching the course. And we know that that may not apply to all of our teachers in 2017. So we're going to work on that language. We're going to tweak some of those requirements to be able to recruit, the number of readers that we need. But it's not going to, be extreme, right? We do still need teachers that are very familiar with the course, that have some kind of experience with the content of the course, and that are going to be able to help us score student work. We also need higher ed professors, right, that understand the course, that possibly have some kind of a CSP-like course that they're implementing at their university. We need a combination of both higher ed and high school teachers to help us score. We'll have those requirements. We really are aiming to have those requirements available to ETS, who is our vendor, and that helps us recruit for our reading. We're aiming to have that available in early fall, like August, August, September-ish time frame, so that they can begin recruiting for next year's first reading in June 2017.
Excellent. Right. And then there's a really, I'm sure, as in everything else, with computer science demand going up, the more readers we get to apply, the better. Owen, would you be able to take this one, please? What design aspects of the AP CS Principles course and exam do you think will help foster and broaden participation in the AP CS Principles course?
Sure, I'll say a few things about that. We've been working closely with many specialists that understand broadening participation for women and underrepresented groups from the beginning of this project, and I know that as the development of the course and assessment transitioned from being kind of joint between NSF and College Board to being the purview of the development committee, that information stayed with the developers. And a few of the key ideas are connecting directly with what interests students. So as we've just finished talking about with the performance tasks, students choose the program that they want to use for CREATE, whether it's to solve a problem or for their own personal enjoyment. Students choose the computational innovation that they will investigate for EXPLORE. So they make that choice, and we know from research that NCWIT and others have done that making a connection directly with a student so that they decide what they want to work on is one of the key things that brings more people into any subject, but in particular into computer science. In the case of APCS principles, by not focusing exclusively on programming, there's an idea that students that already know something about programming aren't advantaged. So in the APCS course, for example, many high schools require some programming prior to taking APCSA. Not all schools do, but when some students come into a programming and some students don't, you can create a disconnect when students think that they should be getting something and they don't, because there are obviously other students in the class that do get it, maybe because they've had previous courses or maybe because they've been working on it at home. So by starting or by emphasizing many aspects of computer science that aren't grounded in programming, it's possible to teach an AP Computer Science Principles course with no prerequisites other than being ready for an AP course. And that levels the playing field in terms of the expectations of students and the kind of students that they will see in the course. So the design of the course cannot focus exclusively on programming. The design of course performance task assessments to emphasize areas that students find interesting are two of the key features that we hope will cause APCS principals to have a different audience in terms of the students that take the course.
Thanks, Owen. There are several questions out here. Owen, for the sake of the recording, would you please state what you told Richard Langner on the Arduino? I'll ask the question again. Richard Langner asks, how would an Arduino project qualify as a CREATE performance task? Owen, please.
Well, the answer that I wrote into the window was, if you look carefully at all the pieces of the performance task, you'll see that students have to submit a PDF of their code. So in the case of an Arduino, you'd have to submit the program that was being used with the Arduino. You'll have to identify an algorithm that was important and an abstraction that was also important, the features of the program that students are asked to comment on. And then for the video that students are asked to submit of their program running, rather than being a screen capture of the program running on the screen, you would have to capture in video something evident in the Arduino working so that you'd see what a working program looked like. So I think all the pieces of the performance task can be met by using hardware and software together, as long as you can meet the requirements of the performance task.
Great. Thank you so much, Owen. That was very, very well said and stated. So teacher guidelines. Lynn, this one is for you, ma'am. There is a lot of confusion, a lot of concern. Because it's after all an exam that students have to turn in to College Board for a grade. So, but then the teacher is supervising them, so it's probably an exam-like environment. At what point can a teacher provide to a student some sort of support? How much help can a teacher provide to a student while he or she is working on the CREATE and the EXPLORE performance task? Lynn?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because, you know, the AP CSP performance tasks are new, basically a new kind of assessment in the AP program, right? We typically don't have these kinds of assessments. AP Capstone has something similar, and AP Studio Art also, has had their form of assessment for quite some time now, where students submit artifacts and, complete these in the classroom. So this is still kind of new for AP. We have developed some guidelines for preparing students and for administering the tasks in the course and exam description. So if you go to the course homepage, you can access this course and exam description, and starting on page 70, we have a more, I would say, comprehensive information. We have more comprehensive information about the exams, including these guidelines. So I encourage, teachers to take a look at these. The emphasis really is, on teachers helping students to prepare to complete these tasks independent of teacher instruction. So we want to get through all of the questions that students will have while they're, during classroom instruction, while they're practicing for the task, so that when teachers are administering these to students, that the questions that students might have will be minimal. Certainly, we expect that teachers will, act as facilitators in terms of ensuring that students have all of the resources that they need, that their computers are working, that the internet is working, and things of that nature. And if students still have questions during the time that they're working on these in terms of administration, that the teachers can remind students, prior experiences that they've done in class. Remember when we did this activity, you might want to apply, what you've learned into, this situation. What we would like to see in the classroom is for students to be completing these tasks independently, as described in these guidelines. In terms of the create performance tasks, students can collaborate with others, in the development of their program or at various phases as they're creating their program. That's very, certainly something that we do want to encourage. I think in terms of preparing students, I think that is key, that they have plenty of time to understand what the tasks are requiring and what the rubrics, will be asking of them.
Excellent. Then Scott Horan had asked a little bit earlier, how do we turn in the innovations performance task? And I'm assuming whether it's innovations or create, you would have maybe the answer would be more or less the same. And if not, could you please highlight the differences as well?
How do they turn in what, Deepa?
The performance tasks. How would students turn in the AP performance task for the AP grade?
Yeah, so we will have a submission portal, much like what it currently exists for AP Capstone, because we want to use that same system. So teachers will log on to this portal. They'll create a class. Students will be able to upload their files up onto this portal, and then the teachers will make that final submission. They'll be able, to upload PDFs, videos, images, and in terms of the requirements in the task, we specify how those responses should be organized and submitted. And then more information about the actual submission process will be available later, late summer or early fall. But it'll be through like the submission portal. Hello?
I'm still here, Lynn, so I assume everybody else is. There's just a brief lull in the conversation. Hey, everybody.
On the screen, it shows that the webinar has ended.
Oh no, did we lose Deepa?
Well, there's a new question. We can keep answering these questions. Will there be exemplars on the 2 performance tasks that we can use to train teachers and students on what projects score high, medium, and low? Lynn, maybe you can say something about that.
The answer to that is yes, and I'm very much looking forward to this pilot reading that we're conducting in early June or in June, so that we can generate those samples from that pilot reading. So you can expect those to be available later in the summer online. We'll make those available.
In particular, I want to just follow up and say that there will be exemplars, as I understand it, Lynn, and I'm looking to you to correct me if I don't have this right, that are...
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Hi, Deepa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea why you guys couldn't hear me. Okay. I'm sorry. I noticed that Owen and you continued. Thank you for taking the questions.
No problem.
What I was going to continue with is, as I understand it, for teachers that have passed the audit process, there will be materials available to them, including a practice exam and perhaps these exemplars as part of that process, and that they will also be available via AP Summer Institutes that will happen in 2017 when they're determined as part of the reading this summer. Is that right?
Yeah, so we do want to make exemplars and student samples available publicly to teachers online. But you're right about the practice exam. We are developing a full practice exam like we do for all of our other AP courses that have paper pencil exams. And will basically reflect a full form operational exam. And teachers who are authorized in terms of their syllabus through the AP course audit will have access to that AP CSP practice exam. And those attending a College Board AP Summer Institute will also have access to that practice exam.
Okay. There is a quick question from Pat. Are the rubrics for grading the performance tasks published somewhere?
Yeah, so currently the rubrics are only available to our current pilot teachers. We expect that we will be making some changes to the rubrics based on the outcomes of the pilot reading that we'll have in June. And then once we're able to finalize those revisions on the rubrics, we're going to make them available online. I promise you, they're going to be up on AP Central, and you'll have the final versions of the rubrics that we'll use for 2016 and 2017. They'll be posted online, and we'll post those as soon as we can. I'm hoping that we can do that, sometime in late July, or sometime in July after we make those final revisions. So you'll have the rubrics. We're planning on making examples available, and all of that will happen after the pilot reading.
Great. Blake Watt asks, can students choose programming languages that specifically drive machines like LabVIEW and Robot C? Does video of the robot successfully performing the code serve as evidence? Owen, would you want to take that one?
My understanding, in having read through the wording in the create performance task, is that there are no restrictions on the programming language that's used, except that it must have the features of the programming languages that are part of the curriculum. For example, it should have selection, loops, functions, lists. So if your programming language has those features, then I think it would be fair game, as I read the create performance tasks to use those languages. And then if you're programming for a robot, then your video of your program in action would show that robot in action. I think that seems pretty clear to me in my reading of the performance task. So there you go.
I agree with you, Owen. I have to admit that that's a very accurate response to that. Lynn, Richard Ladner wants to make sure that we understand that the videos for the exemplars have captions and audio description. And
that's
Pauline,
great.
yeah, excellent point. Is it right? Thank you, Richard. Owen or Lynn, Pauline Lake wants to ask a question that says, the mobile CSP is planning a focus group with teachers to give their feedback on the rubric. Is there a way to submit whatever feedback that comes from that to you?
Yeah, I mean, they can
Lynn?
submit that directly to me, but, take into consideration that there'll be lots of data and, reflection that we'll be conducting at the pilot reading also that will really help drive the, revisions to the rubrics as well. So, Pauline, I'm happy to have more conversations with you directly about, the kind of feedback you and others are considering, and I'll take those, to the team as well.
Great, thank you, Lynn. The syllabus audit, it's a really hot topic right now. I know for myself, that's one of the biggest things that I'm working on is to get my syllabus and working with teachers with me to get their syllabus approved. And it's something that every spring I worry about and make sure it's in line for my AP course for the upcoming fall. Lynn, would you be able to give us some more details and let me know when you want me to move to the next couple of slides as we go through this extremely important topic?
Yeah, absolutely. A requirement that the AP program has for teachers, really, is the only requirement that we have is that in order for students to be able to receive the AP label on their transcripts, on their high school transcripts, we ask teachers to submit a syllabus to the AP course audit so that we can review and help ensure that, the major curricular requirements are included in the course, right, in terms of how that is shown on a course syllabus. So we have the AP CSP course audit page, and we have all the resources that we would have for any other AP course. So we have the curricular requirements. We have a syllabus development guide that walks you through step by step to develop your syllabus to be able to meet, those curricular requirements. And we also have 4 sample syllabi that reflect different approaches to teaching the course. And all of these example syllabi are available to teachers to use as they're developing their own syllabus, or teachers may opt to adopt one of these syllabi and submit that syllabus to the course audit, indicating that they will be following that syllabus in their own course. The course audit window is open. You create an account, you submit your syllabus, and we'll review it, and then we'll provide you, either authorization on that syllabus or feedback in terms of how you can, meet the requirements. If there was some gap or if there was, some evidence that wasn't shown in terms of meeting a particular requirement. So the window opened, or the course audit for CSP opened up in early March. Teachers actually have till the end of January to submit their syllabus in order to receive that authorization for the 16-17 school year. Most teachers will be submitting their syllabus between now and most likely the end of the summer. We'll get the bulk of teachers to do that, but we do have some teachers submitting later in the year as well too. Typically, we say that typically teachers will receive that authorization or feedback within a couple of weeks. So there's not much of a delay in terms of them receiving feedback on their syllabus. So you can go to the AP Course Audit page or use the bit.ly URL there, AP CSP-Course Audit, and you can access all of those resources available to teachers. I also wanted to say that some of you know that we are working with external providers as well in terms of reviewing and endorsing their curriculum and professional development. I only mention this because those providers will also have a syllabus that you can review and opt to adopt as well. So there are 3 NSF projects that we're reviewing their curriculum and their PD for endorsement, and that's the Beauty and Joy of Computing project, the Mobile CSP project, and the Thriving in Our Digital World project. And also outside of those 3 NSF projects, we're also reviewing curricula and PD from Code.org and PLTW. 4 of those, everyone except PLTW, will have a publicly available syllabus that you can take a look at, or if you're using that curricula, you can submit their syllabus. Once we authorize their syllabus, you can submit that syllabus for course authorization. If you're a PLTW school, you will have access to that syllabus, and you can submit that syllabus for course authorization as well.
Great.
Can I follow up on that? Because just to make it clear, there have been questions in the window that a teacher does not need to use one of these endorsed curricula. A teacher can use those, and they can modify and they don't need to use an endorsed syllabus. If you use a syllabus that's already passed the audit, you simply use the number of the syllabus, and then your syllabus will also pass. You can also use a syllabus as the basis for developing your own, assuming that the person that developed it allows you to do that, because in a sense it's their intellectual property. But for the endorsed curricula that Lynn mentioned, they are making their materials available via reasonably nice Creative Commons and open source licenses, except for PLTW, meaning that you could use any of their materials and create your own syllabus. There's no requirement that you use an already audited, a syllabus that's already passed the audit. You can use your own, or you can make a hybrid version, as a few people have asked.
Right, and in terms of the endorsed provider's syllabus, that will be made available, or that endorsement or approval will be made available later in April. So check back on the website for that information, but we're aiming to provide that information by mid-April, and then you can start taking a look at those syllabi. I know there's lots of questions.
There's a really good question by Lisa, and I'd like for one of you to take a stab at it, and both of you, because I know both Owen and then you're running some summer workshops, both of you. Will we be working on a syllabus during the summer workshop?
Question.
Lynn first? Go on, Owen. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to ask a question, and I'm trying to keep up with all the questions that are in the window, so I don't know what question you're alluding to.
Okay. I will try this again. Lisa asks, will we be working on a syllabus during the summer workshops?
I think that's a question for me. So
okay.
During the summer workshops, there is one of the outcomes, or one of the goals that we have set for the AP Summer Institute is for teachers to become familiar with their curricular requirements and have an opportunity to develop a syllabus. it's going to depend on how much time can be allotted for that, but certainly it is a goal for the AP Summer Institutes to be able to address those things, the curricular requirements and, time to begin to develop a syllabus.
Great.
And also that the syllabus development guide that's on that website, on the AP Course Audit website, is a really good document to spend some time, getting familiar with, because it really does walk you through the specifics of what you need to include in your syllabus to meet those requirements. I just wanted to emphasize that. It kind of walks you through, the specifics of what you need to show in your syllabus.
Excellent. And that's the syllabus development guide.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Is the AP CSP planning on being a semester or a year-long syllabus? Ben asks, and he says he's seen both. Betsy does add on, chime in, saying it's hard to make it a semester-long course. Thoughts?
Yeah. So we have gotten this question before. Most of our AP courses are year-long courses. There are some exceptions, right? Of course, for schools that have block scheduling and schools that somehow, figure out a way to teach a year-long course in one semester. We do have those instances. So if a school is in that situation, they still need to be meeting those curricular requirements in terms of the AP course audit. And if a school has a different kind of schedule, they need to explain that within their syllabus. In terms of a review for course audit, we need to have that information, and then also they need to be sure that they meet all of those requirements. But typically, our AP courses, the intent is for our, this course to be a year-long high school course. However, that is scheduled at a school, that's based on what the school decides to do.
Great. And there is one person who, Troy Byrne, says that they are doing APCS principles in fall semester and APCS A in spring semester. Nini, thank you so much for repeating that question. I couldn't find it later on to be able to pronounce your name correctly. When do you think APCSP textbooks like the Barron's will be available for student use?
Yeah,
I have no idea whom to ask that question.
I know that there are some publishers that are developing, textbooks and resources for teachers, but they haven't, submitted those resources to Learning List, who, is who is a third-party vendor that we're working with to review these resources. And that's what they'll need to do, is once these publishers have completed their textbooks or their resources, they'll submit it to Learning List. Learning List will review them, and then, with the requirements that we have, and then we can make those resources available via the course audit. Right now, I think we only have just a couple of textbooks that have been reviewed and, met those requirements by Learning List. So I would check with Barron's. I haven't heard from them in terms of, what they're developing for CSP.
So if I could just chime in quick, this is David Abel from Brown. My advisor and I are both working on a CS textbook in the spirit of AP CSP, and we were wondering what the process would be like to try and get this synced up with you all and see if we could collaborate on making this catered toward the course goals.
Yeah, so we could probably talk more offline about this, but, we're happy to share with you the information about how to make sure that the alignment is there in terms of the curriculum framework and the assessment, because that's that's mainly what we would be focused on in terms of a review. But in terms of like collaborating with the development, I think there are different channels, that we need to talk about probably offline on that.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, thank you.
And
Thanks,
also,
David.
if you email me, I can send you the publishers' guidelines that we have. And we send that all out to all publishers. So I'm happy to, share that with you if you send me an email.
Sure, sounds great. I'll do that.
Great, thanks.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Excellent. We have 5 more minutes, and this has been an incredibly engaging, interactive webinar. I thank you very much, Lynn, Owen, and everybody in the audience. This has been fantastic. So APCS Principles is designed to help address the diversity problem in computer science. Owen first, and then Lynn, please. What impact do you think it will have on diversity among students who enroll in our APCSA and other college computer science classes? Owen?
Well, the reason that we have AP Computer Science Principles is to change the diversity of those students that are choosing to continue in computer science. So we fully expect that there will, at some point, be an impact in the kinds of students, both in terms of gender and underrepresentation, that continue in computer science. Now, we won't be able to determine if that's because of APCS principles because of several confounding factors, especially because of the surge in enrollments in colleges, which has not so far been accompanied by a surge in diversity. But the whole premise of AP Computer Science Principles is to change the look and feel, to use a term from programming, of the kinds of students that continue in computer science. That's why it came into existence, not simply to make one course that a diverse group of students would take, but to help change the upstream study of computer science by having more people become interested in it through AP Computer Science Principles so that they will know about it and want to continue their study via either APCSA or computer science in college. For many students, it might be difficult to take 2 computer science courses in high school, but we're also seeing the requirements for computer science in high school change in ways that we could certainly not have foreseen 8 years ago when computer science principles first started up. So we absolutely expect the diversity to change later in courses. That's why we made AP Computer Science Principles.
Excellent. Yeah, this is definitely something I know as a classroom teacher, I would see a welcome change to see, because it's really hard to convince some groups of students to take their courses. And the key, the most important thing, I think, if we want our enrollments to surge, then diversity is absolutely a must. Lynn, your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Owen said. I do expect, that diversity to occur over time. And, Deepa, this is a question that keeps me up at night, right?
Right.
We definitely want to make an impact on that. But that said, I think the development of AP CS principles for the AP program has done a couple of things. One is now when we talk about AP Computer Science, it's 2 courses, 2 course offerings that schools are able to consider. And, in terms of the needs of their students, some schools might just need 1 course. It might be AP CSP, or they might decide, for our students, AP CSA is the better choice. But now, we have them thinking about computer science, in general. And they're able to make, I would think, more informed decisions about offering computer science based on the needs of their students. And the second thing is, with collaboration, through this community, through everyone that's on this webinar, and other folks that are not, we've been able to talk about computer science more elaborately, nationwide, even worldwide now. And the focus on computer science principles has been tremendous. But when we talk about computer science in general, there's more now. Code.org is developing resources, K-12 now, right? It's not just in high schools. Now it's, in our middle schools and in our elementary schools. And more educators are becoming aware of these options and the need for computer science, and certainly computer science principals have played a role in that. And I think we're able to talk about computer science education in general a lot more comfortably now, and I think that's a good thing. And so all of that put together, I think, will help this diversity problem that we have. That's
excellent.
what I mean.
Yeah, I think that was phenomenal. Thank you so much, Lynn. There are 2 comments out there that I'd like to go ahead and read them out, and then I would like to hand over the mic to Melissa so that she can close the evening for us. Richard Wagner says, some of the syllabi use tools that are not screen reader accessible, and that may be feedback for all of us to take back as we work with various curriculum providers and vendors to help with these issues. And Betsy Dillard really applauds, I think, the performance task, I think is what she's referring to. Is it really helps students who may not do well in standardized tests to perform well in a through-course assessment like performance tasks, where they actually get to do projects and submit and show their abilities rather than just 60 minutes in front of a paper and pencil and perform and show what they have learned and regurgitate. So I agree, and that was pretty much a lot of what our thoughts were as we piloted and developed this course. I do see conversations happening, but I am going to go ahead and hand over the mic to Melissa to close out. Melissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Deepa, Owen, and Lynn, for a great discussion tonight. We really appreciate your time, and thanks to all for your terrific questions. It's really been awesome to see the chat in the window there and to hear such diversity of ideas and queries to help us build a broader knowledge base. As I mentioned previously, the recording will be up tomorrow for this webinar. So if you had colleagues who were unable to attend, you're welcome to share that link with them. Again, it will be up tomorrow once it's been processed by the Adobe Connect system, and one of my colleagues will get it posted. I have already included the PDF link to this presentation that you can access at that link that I put into the chat window there. So you're able to go ahead and get that tonight, and the recording will be there tomorrow. We can keep the chat window open for a couple minutes more if there's any final questions, but we do hope that you will stay connected with us on the CS10K community. You're all welcome to join if you're not already a member. We also encourage you to follow us on Twitter at CS10K. And we have monthly Twitter chats. It was just our one for March was just last night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the 4th Monday of the month. But thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again at one of our future activities. Thanks, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Owen. Thanks, Len. Bye, Melissa.
Thank you.